Hi, thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Lauren Sloan, and I'm a graphic designer currently available for hire. And I'm here to speak to you about a road less taken in my career path as a designer. I want to introduce to you Cy Twombly, a modern art painter who in his later years sought to retrain his brain to think like his inner child. When I first learned about his career process, it baffled me and low key made me angry. I was like, what value is there in painting like your inner child? NASA studies showed 98% of children reach the levels of creative genius between the ages of 4 to 5, but by the time they reach drops to 2%. Why? The number drops because of the introduction of mixing divergent and convergent thinking. And once these two mix, your level of creativity begins to decline. As a designer, I learned the importance of keeping the childlike wonder alive throughout the transition of my design career, primarily to protect my soul. But little did I know, I was also leveraging my inner creative genius. I nurtured this child by pursuing my first job as a designer, going on this adventure of a commute in Long Island. I approached this season of my life with a sense of exploration, despite the 3-hour commute journey. At the time, I was willing to move anywhere to pursue my passion as a designer and often found myself walking down this road alone to my first job. My dream was to be an environmental graphic designer, but along the way, I learned so much more on my first job. I learned the process of trade show graphics. I learned how to code. I learned how to set up email newsletters, and I gained Photoshop skills from veteran colleagues and designers. I also learned the power of passion projects. I learned this when I was exploring ways to display visual data through infographics. With any job, the importance of sharing your dreams with your boss and others is so real. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable in this way. Also, if there's a field of design that pulls your heart, I challenge you to strengthen the understanding and knowledge in this area, even though you might not be working directly in it yet. This is what happened with this project, Chris Lee Real Estate. Chris Lee Real Estate. Faith without works is dead. Activate your faith and take that leap. And that's exactly what I did with my next design move. Still, I kept my child alive by adventuring back to the island of Manhattan and landed a job as an exhibition designer at Christie's and was exposed to many works by many artists as I learned design exhibition. And as I learned this from my boss, and I worked for artists and I worked on exhibitions such as Leonardo, Basquiat, ancient Near East art, Van Gogh, Banksy's, Chinese dynasties, Latin America. My eyes were open. During my time at Christie's, I experienced so much. I was immersed in designing for large-scale print graphics and for designing for the built environment, and I absolutely loved it. Still, I noticed a lack of representation of people of color in my field and leadership roles. Despite this, I met many strong leaders, and my boss was one of them. And I witnessed her as she took on the role of designing the David and Peggy Rockefeller cell as she transformed the auction house of 3 stories and 13 galleries. My boss gave me the opportunity to lead and design this exhibition for an iconic book sale featuring works by Leonardo da Vinci and Luca Pacioli. However, I continued to notice the disparities within the elitist job at Christie's. I noticed that there were underrepresented Black emerging artists and the clientele of elitists who didn't represent so many people who looked like me. So I had to keep my inner child alive, and I decided to do something about it. I created Fictional Art Collective on the side, a side hustle alongside emerging artists in the city. With other women of color, we sought to create art exhibitions in unconventional spaces. Later, I took my next move and transitioned to a senior environmental graphic design position at a small design studio in the Lower East Side. This is when I knew that goals can be achieved. I learned so much more about designing for branded experiences during my time there, creating spaces and using design elements of color to shape the atmosphere for visitors. Also, I want you to close your eyes and imagine yourself as a child. What is it that you wanted? What was it that you saw? See that and pursue that. See and pursue what brings you life. I want to challenge you to invest in the divergent moments in life, to link to those inner parts of your inner child. And this is something that I did during COVID as I explored my inner child in these illustrations. I took the fearful moments, I took the doubt, I took the insecurities, And I took the loneliness and I began to replace it with moments that were filled with love, joy, peace, newness, and leaps of faith. Do this because your inner child matters. Do this because your inner child is worth the investment. And I would love to stay in touch with you. Thank you for listening. You can find me at Lauren Slee at Instagram and laurensloan.com. Also at design at laurensloan.com. Thank you so much.